When you think Ford Explorer, what do you think of? The answer to that could quite reasonably be, well, nothing at all. The nameplate's hardly got a big, illustrious history here in Europe and the UK. The big gas-guzzling SUV was sold briefly in the UK in the late 90s, but since then, Ford has focused on more efficient, smaller models like the Kuga and the Puma, which I guess is a little bit ironic given the fact that Fiesta is going to die later this year. But now the Ford Explorer is back, not as a big gas-guzzling SUV, but as a smart, chiselled, new small electric crossover. This is the Ford Explorer, and this is a Volkswagen ID.4 in a sharp new suit.
That link to the ID.4 isn't just some kind of throwaway comparison. Ford, unusually, has been working with the Volkswagen Group on this one, borrowing the MEB electric toolkit for its follow-up to the tech-filled Mustang Mach-E. So underneath this Bronco-inspired Skoda Enyaq rival is, in fact, well, a Skoda Enyaq, or a Coupe Reborn and, as mentioned, a Volkswagen ID.4.
But you wouldn't know it, would you? Ford says that it's reinterpreted the assertive and rugged appeal of Ford's iconic Explorer SUV, but specifically for customers in Europe. So you've got these headlights, you've got this black panel here which links the two lights and then flows down into the skid plate and the air curtains down here on the front bumper. Moving around the side, you've got a choice of 19 to 21-inch wheels. These are the biggest 21-inch wheels. You've got some nice surfacing down the side, but it's quite stocky, it's quite rugged, it's definitely got purpose. You've got this graphic here on the rear window. That is actually going to be semi-transparent on the production model, so it's not going to affect rearward over-the-shoulder visibility. And then finally, around the very back, you've got these sharp LED lights, which again are linked by that black panel that runs the entire width of the car. Overall though, it's just quite squat, quite rugged. The Explorer offers 450 litres of boot space, which is actually a little bit more than the Mustang Mach-E, despite the fact that this is a car designed to sit underneath it in the model range. And yet it's still almost 100 litres smaller than a Volkswagen ID.4. There's no space in the nose, only enough for a small tyre repair kit, but under the floor here, there is space for you to put the charging cables away and out of sight. Fold the seats down and you've got 1,400 litres to play with, so still a decent space.
What about the stats? Some, but not all of the numbers, may sound familiar. Ford says the Explorer will offer up to 335 brake horsepower from a choice of single motor rear or dual motor all-wheel drive powertrains. Entry-level models get a 52 kWh usable battery, the same as the ID.4, mated to a 168 brake horsepower motor for up to 218 miles of range. The longest range car gets 282 brake horsepower. It's still rear-wheel drive, but with the bigger 77 kWh battery that can manage an official 335 miles. And then here's where things get interesting. The range flagship is a dual motor model with 335 brake horsepower, 40 brake horsepower more than the ID.4 GTX. We've not got performance figures yet, but range for this version stands at 305 miles. Top-spec cars can charge up to 170 kilowatts, the same as the fastest charging Volkswagens, which means a 10 to 80% top-up in just 25 minutes.
And if you thought the exterior didn't look very Volkswagen, well, take a look in here. It is completely different to the ID.3 and ID.4 and actually addresses a number of the kind of key quality and functionality concerns that we had of those cars. But this, well, this is a near £1 million one-off prototype, and it doesn't really feel or operate in the way that Ford says it will for the production version. So we're going to hop next door and take a look at a full-size scale model. So now we're here in the scale model, we can take a proper look around the interior. It's completely different, as I said, to the ID.3 and 4, and it starts with this 15-inch portrait touchscreen. It's actually a dummy, so I can't figure out any of the menus or see how responsive it is, but personally, on visuals alone, it is such an upgrade from those VW systems, and actually an evolution of what you get in the Mustang Mach-E. It's got full screen mapping, and you can have CarPlay, full screen, and Android Auto, as well as it cycles through these different screens. You can see all of that stuff. But the clever trick feature that you get with this screen is actually that it moves like this by up to 30 degrees, and it's got different levels within it. So when you're driving along and you need detailed mapping, then you might have it in the upright position. When you're cruising on the motorway, you can have it in the more laid back position like this. But that's not where the clever features end. Behind the screen, you've actually got this storage area, which means you can hide away your valuables and everything when the car is parked, of course, if you put the screen back down. And talking of hiding away valuables, you've actually, underneath here, got a 17-litre mega box, which Ford says is enough for a 15-inch laptop. Of course, there's somewhere to put the cup holders out the way down there, and you can obviously store these bits under there as well. And it all just fits back together nice and easy. Elsewhere in the interior, you've got this sound bar across the top. That's going to be standard on all cars. You've got ambient lighting, 10 different colours, some of which are reflected with the different drive modes as well. You've got a 5.3-inch digital instrument cluster, a little bit similar to what you get in a Mach-E, but all the key information is there. You've got nav on the right-hand side and the speed and all that kind of stuff there. Now, one thing that has been carried over from the ID4, the most immediately obvious thing, is the gear selector up here. It's actually taken from the ID Buzz rather than the ID4, but that all really worked really well. That was one of the ID4's real key selling points, is just how easy it was to whack it into drive or into reverse. So we've got absolutely no complaints in that respect. In terms of materials and fit and finish, of course, this is just a model, so it's really difficult to get a true representation of what it was going to feel like. But you've got this kind of squircle steering wheel, which is what they call it. It's kind of a rounded off square. You've got Sensico man-made leather on there, and Ford actually says that it's paid particular attention to the materials on the doors. It says it's got 3mm of give, which does, even in that prototype next door, it does give you a sense of the quality that this car is going to offer. The seats, those are a choice of fabric or, again, that Sensico man-made leather, and these buckets, certainly comfortable sitting here in a studio. But yeah, overall, I cannot emphasize enough how Ford has completely started with a clean sheet design and removed all of those frustrations that we had with the ID3 and ID4.
Of course, prices and specs are still under wraps and will be for some time. But Ford has told us that every car will come with heated massage seats and heated steering wheel, plus this soundbar style speaker, as well as keyless entry, dual zone climate control, plus Apple and Android connectivity for the central screen. Options, we're told, will include an automatic tailgate, plus this gorgeous panoramic roof.
Back here, the electric-specific platform that's been lifted from VW does give the Ford Explorer plenty of space. There is loads of knee room, loads of headroom, only emphasised by this fantastic panoramic roof, which is something I would definitely consider speccing. These rear quarter lights here actually do give, again, a real feeling of light and airiness in here, but you can fit through across the back. It is a little bit higher in the middle, but you've got a completely flat floor, so loads of space for your feet. One thing I have noticed that I'm not so sure about these fixed kind of bucket seats, so they do kind of make you feel a little bit hemmed in. You can't get that forward visibility, but otherwise, very little to complain about. On this evidence, it seems like Ford have actually been quite clever. You know, like, let Volkswagen get on with things, see where it needs to improve, and then ultimately fix the ID3 and ID4's little niggles. That infotainment system is a complete transformation, and those quirky little storage solutions, well, it should make this a much more usable family car. Ultimately, it'll come down to how usable it is in the real world, but with Ford's renowned driving magic sprinkled into the mix, well, this could be a cracker.
Head to DrivingElectric.com for all the latest electric and hybrid car advice, news and reviews, and check us out on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Finally, while you're here, make sure you hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel and turn on notifications to ensure you never miss a video.